All right, guys, we got Mark Daniels Jr. on the phone. I call Mark. You're over in Alabama right now, aren't you, man?
I am. I'm at home, man, hanging out, relaxing.
Trying something a little bit different. I figured, you know what? I got all my buddies on tour. Why not call up guys like Mark, Cody Meyer, all these guys, and ask them a few questions in regards to the episodes that I'm doing for you guys so you can get the best of the best. Because you guys know I'm not a tournament fisherman, but I admire these guys and what they do. And I got my own West Coast buddy, my left coast love buddy out there on tour, because I got to give it up for Mark. It's all love all the time. Nicest dude you can meet. So what I want to do is ask Mark 3 bed fishing questions. And, you can see how they apply to this episode and what Mark thinks. And, maybe you can play off of it. Maybe we agree. Maybe we disagree. But you get a whole nother perspective from this. All right, Mark, you ready for this?
I'm ready, man. What you got?
If you can offer one single tip in regards to bed fishing that applies to everybody, what would that tip be?
A 2-part tip I'm going to give you guys. It is imperative that you have really good eyewear, and I highly recommend you guys take a peek at Costa Del Mar 580 glass lenses. In my opinion, those are going to be the crispiest, most detailed lenses that money can buy, and I really recommend the mirror. And what the mirror does...
So it's the polarized glasses, yep.
Yeah, polarized with the mirror on the outside. And what the mirror does is, as the sunlight reflects off the water and hits you in the face, it bounces off the mirror on your glasses, which allow you to have better penetration visually into the water to see these fish. And obviously, without seeing them, you can't catch them. So that's the first part. Make sure you got...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so imperative being able to see these fish. A lot of people don't realize a bed fish will oftentimes pick up your bait and drop it within a half a second. And Mark's absolutely spot on. I agree. It's so imperative. And throughout this episode, you're going to hear me talking about blocking side light, not only on top of polarized, but pulling like your buff over the edge of your glasses and your hat down as low to your eyes as possible to block out all lights.
Awesome. All right, Mark. I got 2 more for you. You ready?
All right.
Single biggest mistake a person can make bed fishing.
Very, very easy answer right here. I see it all the time with, novice.
I sure hope I don't make it.
Well, we've all made it. We all do it. It's just part of it sometimes. And in some situations, you can't help it. But most guys get way too close to the fish. They get on top of them. If you can see them, they can see you. And it's just that simple. And so I really try to utilize my power poles and back off these fish. Obviously, I've spotted them previously, the day before, day prior. I like to stay off them quite a ways, utilize my power poles to where I'm stealthy, I'm quiet, I'm not making a lot of noise with my trolling motor, and then make those accurate flip pitches or what have you into the bed on those fish.
And that's more based around catching the female, correct? Because I know a lot of guys will come right up on a male and they'll see that it's locked and they'll catch that male and they'll never see that female.
Right.
Just like you're saying right here, I absolutely right. And I bed fish all the time too, and I love to jump around California. You're from here. We have like 4 months straight bed fishing because we could go south and north because our elevation. When the fish start bedding, it just happens periodically all up in the north and south on our state. So, I totally get what you're saying right there. It's the pressure. It's the pressure that keeps that fish from striking and doing his job, right?
Absolutely. Yep. That's 100% right.
So are you saying, like, how far would you really put that in perspective? Like, let's say I'm at a point where I'm losing visual or can't see my bait anymore. I mean, how would you base it? Because it's like what's close to some person's, imperative to another. I mean, 10 feet away could be far to some people. So how would you kind of like base it? Like a good tip you can give us on that?
Yeah, well, it's funny you bring that up because when you're bed fishing and you're dealing with these fish, males and female both, every bass you approach is going to be different. It's going to have a different temperament. It's going to have a different breaking. It's going to have a different hot spot on the bed will actually bite. You have to really fill it out fish by fish. But I like to be off of the bed to where I'm starting to lose sight of the actual bed. Not even my lure, but the actual bed. I almost can't see the bed. You know, I know my bait's in there. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll mark a fish on bed, and I'll cruise by it at about 20 yards off of the bed. I'll flip into the bed, but then I'll keep on rolling down the bank. I'll free spool my line, and then I'll roll down the bank 30, 40, 50, 80 yards sometimes, depending on how clear the water is. And at that point, I start to work that fish, because when that fish can't see you, it's in a much more comfortable state of mind, and it's much more protective and willing to strike a bait that's sitting in the bed.
That's awesome. And I'll tell you right now, the farthest I've ever worked a fish was about 50 feet. What you just told me is going to help me catch more fish, and I would have never thought about fishing at that range. Now, I know sensitivity for when they pick up is critical, so would you put your rod more to 12 o'clock to maintain that bait tension so you could feel that bite?
Initially, I'm going to slack line it, and then when I go to pick it up to make that first shake of the rod or that first action of that bait, I'm going to be positioned in, you know, I'm going to situate my body so to where at any point I can set the hook. Because a lot of times, as soon as I pick up on that bait, boom, the fish strikes, or it already has it, you know?
Yeah, they're on it. Right. Okay. Awesome, dude. Incredible tip. Okay. Last question for you. What do you think is something that most people do not know about bed fishing?
I think the common misconception when fishing bed fishing, with fishing bed fish, a lot of people are afraid to use really large baits. They just feel like, you know, you see so often where a fish will nip at the tail, or it'll bite the bait in half, and it's always sitting in that hook. But, man, I'll tell you,
time.
The intimidation factor or the drawn power of some of these big soft plastics, like the Tora tube, which is like a, you know, it's like an 8-inch tube. The lobster, like a 10-inch crawfish bait. I mean, these are world-renowned giant bass catching baits. And a lot of times, you know, I'll try my traditional D-bomb, or I'll try a missile crawl or what have you, but it's just not triggering that fish. And so sometimes I'll throw a big swim bait in there, a trash fish. You know, my buddy Spanish has the boom boom swim bait. I'll pitch that in there with a weight on it, you know, and set it on that nest. And a lot of times that'll fire up that female and get that strike. That's
freaking awesome. Yeah, I do it with glide baits and HUD sometimes. So, yeah, we're right on the same page right there. I think a lot of people miss the boat, realizing that a lot of the time the predator is as big as them or even bigger, but they're still going to do their job at defending it. And I tell people a lot of the time, if you see a female that's off the bed and she sees the male not being able to do his job, a lot of the time that female's going to come over and attack that bigger bait, where the male will just keep pecking and pecking and pecking, and it kind of just fires her up. So absolutely awesome tips, Mark. Thank you for answering our questions, man. How's the tour been going for you?
Man, it's been a pretty good year. You know, I switched over this year to Bassmaster Elite Series, and I just got home day before yesterday from Ross Barnett, and I ended up getting a 39th place finish. Caught him how I like to fish, frogging and flipping. So I can't really complain, you, man. You know, got a lot of fishing to go, and I'm looking forward to it all.
Terrific. Thanks for checking in with us, Mark.
Anytime, Nick. You take care, man.
You too.